now on the CTV News at 5. It's the last day to sign a recall petition for Lethbridge East MLA Nathan Neudorf, a petition most people have never seen. Plus, rallies in support of Alberta staying in Canada were held over the weekend. And Canadians scramble for safety amid violence in Puerto Vallarta.
Telling your stories. CTV News Lethbridge with Jackie Scantlebury.
Good afternoon. We're glad you could join us. Well, today is the end of the 90-day signature collection period for the petition to recall Lethbridge East MLA Nathan Neudorf. It has been a frustrating time for many who have been unable to sign the petition or even find the person behind it. Quinn Keenan has more.
3 months ago, Ryan Tanner submitted an application for a citizen's petition to recall Minister of Affordability and Utilities Nathan Neudorf. Since then, it appears Tanner has made little to no effort to collect signatures. It's unclear if anyone has been able to sign the petition.
Well, it definitely has been somewhat frustrating, I would say, because although legally there was a petition put out by a Ryan Tanner and some alleged accomplices, it went nowhere as far as we know.
CTV News has been unable to locate or speak to Tanner despite weeks and months of attempts. Meanwhile, speculation has ranged from an attempt to sabotage a legitimate petition to Neudorf himself being involved. There's no proof to the rumors, and Neudorf has denied the allegation, saying in a statement, "I remain steadfast in my commitment to serve every constituent, including those who have had concerns or felt unheard." The Recall Act does not require a petitioner to actually collect signatures. Elections Alberta will not say if any complaint has been filed, adding any investigation requires the election commissioner must have reasonable grounds to believe an infraction has occurred. Still, the whole situation could leave a sour taste in the mouths of voters come the next election.
He's tainted at the very least by presumably the actions of some of his fairly avid supporters. And that is the kind of thing that certainly could, stick to him, despite any, disavowals that he was practically, tangibly involved in this.
Any signatures collected must be handed to Elections Alberta by now. Results from the petition will be published within the next 28 days. Quinn Keenan, CTV News, Lethbridge.
For the petition to move ahead in the recall process to remove the Lethbridge East MLA, it requires 13,207 signatures, which represents 60% of the votes cast in the last election. Alberta NDP leader Naheed Nenshi says Premier Daniel Smith's plans for a series of referendum questions this fall are a waste of money. Nenshi says the questions on immigration are stoking racism and could make life challenging for immigrants.
Don't we have a responsibility to make sure that those who come after have the chance to succeed in the same way, instead of making it harder and harder, instead of telling kids of temporary foreign workers that you can't go to school? The hell is that? How do you build a society that way? Again, she never thinks of the implications.
Then she pointed out that not long ago, Smith was talking about growing Alberta's population, even turning Red Deer into a city of 1 million people. The Alberta legislature returns this week, and the UCP will table a budget on Thursday. On her radio call-in show Saturday, Premier Smith said a bipartisan committee will be struck this week to look at the Forever Canadian petition. This after two callers asked what she's doing about Thomas Lukaszik's petition. More than 404,000 signatures were collected in response to the question, "Do you agree Alberta should remain in Canada?" Smith says the question Lukaszik put forward indicates it would be a vote of the people of Alberta.
May well be that they make the decision to put it on the ballot in October, or it may be that they make the decision to put it to a vote in the legislature. But it's a legal issue because the petition language calls for a referendum, and I think a lot of citizens signed it on that basis. So we have to do a little bit more study on that one.
In a statement, Lukaszik said, "We believe that there is no need for divisive, politically motivated referenda. But if the Premier wishes to expose Alberta's economy and our social cohesion to that instability that such a referenda cause, then the pro-Canadian question posed by Forever Canada should be on the ballot." Alberta's Canada celebrations were held in Calgary, Edmonton, and Medicine Hat over the weekend. A show of unity in Calgary to celebrate being Canadian, pushing back against the separatist movement. The group says it's a grassroots response to current political tensions with a message for Premier Danielle Smith.
She needs to understand, along with others, that this is going to be a very difficult and complex road to go down. The treaties play a real vital role here, and it's the treaties that are at the main forefront of this.
The queer community is an integral part of Alberta and Canada, and we will fight tooth and nail to maintain our sovereignty within Canada.
Those spearheading the separatist movement say momentum for them is picking up. The Stay Free Alberta petition needs more than 177,000 signatures by May the 2nd. A group looking to stop coal mining in the Rocky Mountains has kicked off canvassing events across the province.
There's so much push for development and not enough push for preservation of these natural resources. So I support it. I'm with y'all.
Albertans lined up to sign their name this weekend at an event in Edmonton, Calgary, and Lethbridge. The No New Coal Mining Initiative is being headed up by country singer Corb Lund. The petition calls for the government to introduce legislation prohibiting any new coal mining activity, including a proposed mine in Crow's Nest Pass. Elections Alberta gave petitioners the green light to start collecting signatures earlier this month.
It's really about the runoff into our waterways and what that does for agriculture, fishing, tourism, farmers, right? And so it's very short term looking at coal, but we have a long-term goal to protect the province.
Lund's group has until June the 10th to collect just over 177,000 signatures. Danielle Savoni is in with our first forecast. And the southern Alberta should see some more positive daytime highs for the most of the week, Danielle.
Yeah, we're already in the positives now, and we'll continue to climb a little bit each day. Look at wind gusts right now, 57 kilometers per hour. That's been the max so far in Pincher Creek, in those 50s for Lethbridge, and in the 70s for Medicine Hat. But check out the direction. Out of the southwest. When you look to the north, Calgary, it's out of the northeast. Brooks as well. This is creating quite a discrepancy in the temperatures out there. So Clare's home at 7, Pincher Creek at 3, Lethbridge at 6, Calgary with the wind chill feeling more like minus 12. We're all going to be warming up this week. I'll show you more details on that coming up.
All right, thanks, Danielle. Thousands of Canadian tourists remain stranded in Mexico, violence spilling into the streets Sunday after a military operation killed a wanted cartel leader. Canadians in Puerto Vallarta were ordered to shelter in place because of fighting across the region. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel is trying to stop military operations with car fires, roadblocks, and shootouts. Most shops remain closed in Puerto Vallarta. Taxi and rideshare services are suspended, so are all Canadian flights. Albertans vacationing in Puerto Vallarta say it's much calmer there today, but are wondering when they can head home.
Nobody knows anything. We're just kind of stuck here. There's many of us Albertans in our hotel that are just waiting.
Canada's Foreign Affairs Minister says Canadians should continue to shelter in place if that is the direction being given by local authorities. At this point, the Canadian government is not considering rescue flights. For the most up-to-date information, Canadians in Mexico should register with Global Affairs, and so far, over 26,000 have done that. Manufacturing in the Lethbridge region is contributing more than $4 billion to Alberta's gross domestic product each year. That's according to a new report. Economic Development Lethbridge says manufacturing exports in the city have grown by 163% since 2016, supporting more than 17,000 jobs. Carson Marsouk has that story.
Manufacturing is a key driver of employment, growth, and economic output, according to a new report.
We wanted to ensure that we had a way to quantify the important role manufacturing plays in powering local industry here in Lethbridge.
The Manufacturing Economic Impact Study is helping to do that. The report shows that the industry contributes $4.2 billion to Alberta's economy each year, including $3 billion from food manufacturing alone, including potatoes, wheat, and peas.
It's enormous, right? And when we talk about the government's plans to increase exports and targets to diversify what's going on there, what we see here is that almost 3/4 of that is already coming from this sector right now, right? So a lot of those important targets and a lot of the economic activity that we're already seeing is emanating from this sector here in Lethbridge.
In the Lethbridge region, manufacturing supports more than 17,000 jobs, about 1/4 of all local employment. The industry has grown 163% since 2016, the highest among Alberta's major cities.
Anything we can do to support this sector so that it continues to see sustained prosperity in our area, I think is at the epicenter of what's going on and something that we'd really like to see, and we think really is closely correlated with overall economic performance for the region as a whole.
PepsiCo Canada, which operates out of Lethbridge and Taber, says it remains committed to investing in our food and beverage options in the province and supporting our local communities, which Mike Prosu says supporting those companies is vital to sustaining the industry in the region.
Because if it catches a flu or if it slows down, chances are that could spread to the region as a whole. And again, that's something we want to avoid. We want to ensure that it continues to thrive and succeed.
Kars Marsuk, CTV News, Lethbridge.
Economic Development Lethbridge says it will use the new report to help advocate and support all 3 levels of government when it comes to attracting new investment and supporting operations already underway in the region. It is time for our first break, which means Danielle has your 5-day forecast when we return. Plus, the province is revealing details of an investment in more doctors today. Stay with us.
Okay, Skycam, and now from an hour ago, really, facing southwest. Warmer temperatures, absolutely, as we talked about already, in the far south. Now, all of southern Alberta is going to increase in temperature throughout these next few days. And then we have a big snowfall on the way, Thursday, Friday. March is our snowiest month, so we'll talk about that in just a second. But again, the gusts have been out of the southwest predominantly today for areas in the far south. And that really had an impact on temperature, and out of the north here. This is all going to switch up with regards to wind direction, but this is what it's done to temperatures. This is a look at daytime highs. So 5 was the high in Pincher Creek, 6 in Lethbridge, 7 in Milk River, 8 in Medicine Hat. Brooks only got to -8, Calgary -9. So you can see that warmer air that's been pushing in from the southwest. When we look at right now, with the wind chill, it feels more like -12 in Calgary, so I wanted to add that in there as well. Drumheller feels more like -15, and Medicine Hat, which is just starting to dip below freezing at this point, feels more like -5 with the wind chill. We don't have wind chill, Pincher Creek and Lethbridge at the moment, or Claresholm, because we're above that freezing mark. Radar and satellite showing you the stateside system, creating more of that southwest flow. Also snowfall with this. This is a non-significant snowfall event. The significant one is later this week, and I'll show you that in the long range. Jet stream in the darker green here is really going to be just south of us or just north of us over the coming days. We're also going to get a nice push out of the west. So it's going to be windy at times, but it will warm up the temperatures. All right, so with the future casts, we have isolated flurries possible in all communities in the far south, right up until about midnight tonight. Let's look at 11:30 tonight, and then it clears out for tomorrow. Check that out. So lots of sunshine for tomorrow. All right, let's talk temperatures and what we can expect. East Kootenay area -3, flurries and fog patches developing, and then we get the clouds clearing out throughout the day tomorrow with a high of -1. Crozes Pass, small chance of a few flurries tonight from that stateside system. -7 overnight, 4 for tomorrow, but it will be gusty a little bit anyway, 50-kilometer-per-hour gusts, so fairly similar to today. Medicine Hat, small chance of any sort of flurries tonight, mainly cloudy skies, clearing out for tomorrow. In the morning, the wind chill will be -21, so it's a cold start to the day, but getting up to that freezing mark in the afternoon with sunshine. All right, for Lethbridge, 3 degrees for tomorrow, gusty, and in the morning, the wind chill values will be in the -20s. So cold start to the day. We're looking at gusts out of the west at 50 kilometers per hour, and then a pretty mild afternoon, which is a little above normal. Then you can see we climb in temperature, 8 for Wednesday, 9 for Thursday. Thursday night is when that system rolls in. It will drop the temperature fast. It will likely bring about 5 centimeters of snow Thursday night, and then another 5 to 10 centimeters of snow is possible on Friday. And then you can see after that, temperatures will start to cool down significantly. So with that system and the 5 to 10 centimeters of snow, some models even suggesting 15 centimeters on Friday, you're looking at a high of -6, and then as we head into the weekend, a daytime high of -4.
Premier Danielle Smith announcing a big increase in funding for physicians this afternoon. The province is investing an increase of $1.4 billion over last year in physician recruitment, training and compensation. It comes as the government is under increasing pressure to deal with surgical and emergency wait times and a shortage of family physicians, especially in rural Alberta. Critics say simply throwing money at the problem won't make it much better, that the real problem has been the government's sometimes chaotic overhaul of the healthcare system. How the province plans to pay for the spending on doctors given its projections of a deficit budget and whether it leads to cutbacks elsewhere remains to be seen. The provincial budget will be handed down on Thursday. And the government of Alberta is making it easier and more stable for post-secondary institutions to receive funding for addiction recovery supports. Lethbridge Polytechnic is one of 26 publicly funded post-secondary institutions that is eligible to receive the funding. In previous years, the school had to apply through a competitive process to receive the $3,000 in funding. But the province says it will make the funding more stable and ongoing. The Polytechnic will use the money to offer a range of support programs and awareness campaigns around addiction.
Having support for students really allows them to be able to focus on their school, but also, live with the supports that they need around recovery, around addiction, around making decisions about when, what options there are for them if they're contemplating recovery so that they can be successful in school.
The province will provide $3 million over 3 years through its Recovery on Campus Alberta program to the institutions. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, we've got your Hurricanes and Tigers highlights next. Plus, we'll tell you how much the Holy Grail of Baseball card has sold for. Welcome back. Lethbridge Tigers and Lethbridge Hurricanes and the Medicine Hat Tigers. They met for another edition of the Highway 3 rivalry over the weekend. Now, the Canes were still looking to grab their first win this season against the Tigers. Friday night, the two met in Lethbridge. After a scoreless first period, early in the second, Luke Cousins opened up the scoring against his own club to make it 1-0. A little later in the period, a shot tips off Andrew Bashaw and into the back of the net to make it 2-0. And then just under a minute later, a Marcus Ruck would score to put this one to bed early. The Tigers, they would ride it out and hold on for a 3-0 win. Saturday in Medicine Hat got off to another tough start for Lethbridge. Medicine Hat scored 3 times in the final 5 minutes of the first period to take a 3-0 lead after 20 minutes. Late in the first, Tyden Lafrenaise would give the Canes life as a sharp angle shot sneaks through to make it 3-1. A few minutes later, Deneau is left all alone in front and does not miss as he makes it a 1-goal game. To the third now, Ole Chenier gets a pass in front and doesn't miss to tie the game at 3. And this game would need overtime. In the extra frame, Bryce Pickford stops the comeback in its tracks, and the Tigers stay perfect against the Canes with a 4-3 overtime win. The BCHL will be wrapping up its regular season in about a month, but there's still plenty of playoff berths and seeds left to decide. Friday, the Bandits were in a barn burner with the Spruce Grove Saints, but a 5-goal third period did power Brooks to a 9-6 win. The Cranbrook Bucks, meanwhile, had a huge game against the Okotoks Oilers. The Bucks managed a 6-1 win to bring them 1 point outside a playoff spot. Saturday, the Bandits and Bucks met in Brooks. The Bandits scored 3 times in the first before allowing 3 unanswered goals to send this game into overtime. In overtime, Jack McMinn played hero, giving Cranbrook a 4-3 win. Cranbrook now sits in the Interior Conference's last playoff spot. Even with the loss, though, Brooks has clinched a playoff spot. And this was the last weekend of the regular season for court sports in the ACAC. On Friday, on the road, the Lethbridge Polytechnic Kodiak's women's basketball team took down Red Deer Polytechnic 69-65. Men's basketball also managed to win 86-58. On Saturday, the women, they could not pull off the weekend sweep, losing 81-77. The men, they were able to grab the sweep with a big 91-62 win. The volleyball teams were able to close out their seasons at home. Friday, the women's team fell to Red Deer 3-1. The men's team also lost in a 5-set heartbreaker. Saturday wasn't any better for the women as they lost in straight sets, but the men would end the season on a high note, winning a sweep. Many Canadian hockey fans still have the bitter taste of silver in their mouths, with Canada losing both the men's and women's gold medal games in overtime to their American rivals. Jack Hughes scored less than 2 minutes into overtime to give the United States a 2-1 win over Canada in men's hockey. It's their first Olympic gold medal in men's hockey since 1980. Team Canada and the fans now have to look ahead to 2030 for redemption in France. And despite some tough losses, Canada still had plenty to celebrate as the Milano Cortina Winter Olympics wrapped up. Speed skaters Valerie Malte and Stephen Dubois carried the flag as Team Canada marched in the closing ceremony. Italy handed off the Olympic torch to France, which will host the next Winter Games. Team Canada leaves Italy with 21 medals, which places us 11th overall. Our athletes won 5 gold, 7 silver, and 9 bronze. The Milano Cortina Paralympic Games, those start on March the 6th. Well, a lucky American family cashed in after discovering the holy grail of baseball cards in their grandfather's collection. This T206 Honus Wagner sold for more than $5.1 million US at auction after being in the family for 116 years. The card of the Pittsburgh Pirate great is one of the rarest in sports collectibles and was originally distributed in smoke packs in 1909. It's the third most expensive version of the card ever sold. Still ahead on the CTV News at 5, the story of a cat that is all ears when we come back. A kitty in Alabama is getting a lot of attention. NBC's Lisa Crane introduces us to Dobby.
Everyone thinks their pet is pretty special.
He is a special cat.
But Dobby, a 7-month-old black cat, is 1 in a million with a rare genetic mutation that'll make you smile from ear to ear.
He is unique with his extra ears.
Stephanie Brown is fostering this irresistible kitty who also has a short curled tail caused by his condition and a severe underbite that's going to require surgery. But once he heals from that, he'll be adopted. Brown says she'll be sad to see him go, but knows some family will be lucky to have him.
I hope he gets a home with a kid. He loves children, and again, that's something that's a bit more unusual for cats. He really has responded so positively. He's more comfortable with my daughter than adults, and so I hope he gets a kid.
Brown has a soft spot for unique cats like her own pet, Phoebe. She has cerebellar hypoplasia, a neurological disorder.
I think the differences are completely beautiful. I think it's a matter of embracing all of those differences and understanding, just like people, every creature, every animal is going to have their own unique personality, presentation, conditions, appearance.
Thank you for sharing this time with us. Now here's the early edition of the CTV National News.